And the first citation is correct, but there are some serious problems. One, the font, which has to be Times New Roman. 2 is the header should be center and in the middle of the page. 3, for the city of publications, United States is not a city. 4, we do not cite Wikipedia for research projects. Also, the URLs are absolutely missing. This is a website. This is a website. And you have no way of knowing that because there is no URLs. The author name is actually inverted here. Catherine Davis should be Davis, Catherine. This is a 1 out of 4. And this is where you start running into some serious problems. This is just sort of a total act of desperation. Of these sources, 1 is valid. We're going to talk a little bit about Frank Smitha here. That's a problem. Additionally, we have the header should be centered in the middle of the page. We have double spacing issues. We have hanging margin issues. We're missing a space between the last updated and the date accessed in the second website. But really, fundamentally, the problems with this bibliography are the sources themselves. That cyber essays are, it's a place where you can actually buy essays. In that cyber essays website, they offered a free sample of the analysis of the French Revolution, and at the bottom of that cyber essay, they provided a bibliography. So let's just look at the cyber essays bibliography for a moment. We have a book by Will Durant, and it's an excellent book, and we have multiple copies of this particular book in our library. Then beyond that, the author of this cyber essay, which they're actually charging you to use if you wanted to use it and pay for it, offers 2 additional World Book Encyclopedia articles. Now, the World Book Encyclopedia is really designed for elementary school children, so not a very sophisticated resource in that it's encyclopedic, and moreover, even less sophisticated of a resource because it's designed for elementary school children. The last resource in this bibliography is a 1992 CD-ROM encyclopedia. So this cyber essay, something you pay for, has actually used 3 encyclopedias and 1 book that is excellent, but it's a book that we have. So if you were actually doing your research properly, you would have probably chosen to use the Durant book in the first place and skip the cyber essay altogether. That would have been much wiser use of your time. Now let's talk about Frank Smitha for a minute. Frank Smitha has a French Revolution website. Frank Smitha's bio is 3,339 words. That was this was his bio in 2005. He's since updated it and cleaned it up since the first time we did this lesson. But in the first paragraph, he wrote, "I dropped out of high school." In the second paragraph, he wrote, "I dropped out of college." Now, I'm not saying Frank Smitha should not do that thing, and I'm not berating people for dropping out of high school or college. Very smart people who have excellent lives that are exceptionally productive do both. However, I'm not sure that that qualifies him as an expert on the French Revolution. Let's look a little further into his website. His article on the French Revolution is 9,000 words. So he does write more about the French Revolution than he does about himself. His own biography really went on about his consistent inability to get a job in a community college. So it really makes me wonder why all of a sudden, just because he puts his stuff on the web and has clearly a lot of time on his hands, Frank Smitha is such an expert on the French Revolution. Frank Smitha has 3 books in his bibliography for his French Revolution article. 2 out of the 3 books that Frank Smitha used, we also used. I'm not sure why you want Frank Smitha's watered-down, pre-digested interpretation of books that we already have, and what makes him an expert in that interpretation process. So I really think that you need to carefully consider what web resources you are choosing. A couple of things that kids consistently mess up on. One author. You write the last name first, followed by the first name. If you have 2 authors, you're going to switch it around. You're going to do the last name first, followed by the first name, and then write the word and the first name first and the last name last. If you have 3 authors, just follow what you do with the 2 authors, only add another person in between the first and the last. And if you have more than 3 authors, you're going to use the Latin abbreviation for "and others." Book titles must be underlined. Periodical articles are in quotation marks, and periodical names get underlined. Dates always have to follow this format. Website information has to include the last updated. Very often that's hard to find. You really sometimes have to dig. Sometimes you have to go back to the home page, scroll all the way down to the bottom, look at About Us. I mean, you really have to dig. But if there isn't any at all last updated information, then you should really consider not using the source. You have to include the date of access when you're citing.